The most important element is in place, and that's the folks that are going to lead us in the pledge, right? Welcome everybody to our regular monthly meeting for the month of October. I know everybody's enjoying the change in weather. I certainly am. Tonight I'm told we have students from both Spiegelville and Spring Valley to lead us in the pledge. So without further ado.
Good evening, Board and Dr. K. We're so glad to be here. We're very excited. This is our flag crew, and then Spiegelville is going to join us as well. We have a flag crew on it's a flag patrol on our campus. Miranda Bennett is the one who founded it, and we're very thankful for her. We had some friends from the military come in and teach our students how to fold the flag properly and store and handle the flag. So they'd like to demonstrate for you really quickly. If you guys want to go ahead and come up, I'll let you know who they are. We have Levi Yapel, Kingston Holcomb, Jolie Turner, Lydia Kindred, Colin Gardner, Grayson Polonis, Kinley McCrory, and Hamilton Chansey. If you guys want to go ahead and start folding the flags, that would be great. These kids are chosen from, these are students who are respectful and kind. They have good references from their teachers. They put up the flag every morning when they get to school and take it down every afternoon. They open car doors for our students and we also call them the safety patrol. They help students down the hall. They're just very good examples of good citizens on our campus. They also, when the military came in, they taught them what each of the 13 folds mean on the flag. We were going to explain all of those tonight, but that can get kind of lengthy. So we didn't want to take up your time for that, but they did learn what each fold represents.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards and Ms. Bennett.
Thank you.
For this.
Ms. Bronstead, do you want to introduce yours?
Okay, and just to introduce our students, if they will come on up. These are all fifth graders, and much like Ms. Edwards talked about, these are students that are on our safety patrol, our library league, so they go in and help out Ms. Guy, our librarian, with things that she needs. They have been on our news crew, so they do our live morning announcements. They are all fifth graders that have taken on these leadership responsibilities and exhibit qualities like responsibility and leadership skills, and we're very proud of them, and we're ready to say the pledge.
Introduce the folks.
Yes, I'm sorry. I realized after we started I did not do that. So we have Braden Corbin, Cooper Guy, Grace Salinas, and Riley Sesko. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here and demonstrating that. It's very impressive. Absolutely. Then we have some additional recognition tonight, and Mr. Alford is going to assist with that.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. So glad to see each and every one of you this evening for the recognition portion of our meeting. We are very honored this evening to recognize the Midway 2022 Teachers of the Year, and many of them are in attendance tonight. And as Mr. Russick said, Mr. Brad Alford is assisting me, one of our school board members, who I think has a birthday tomorrow, right? Well, happy birthday, Brad. Happy birthday. Almost 40. All right. This job's keeping you young. All right. So in recognition of their dedication and exceptional commitment to serving our students, Midway celebrates a Teacher of the Year at each of our elementary campuses and 2 teachers at each of our secondary campuses. And so at this time, I just want to call them out and have a public recognition of our Teachers of the Year for the year 2022. So I'll start with Castleman Creek Elementary, Miss Monica Regal. Where's Monica? Come forward, please. And please stand. We're going to do a group photo here in just a moment. Next, from Hewitt Elementary, Miss Wendy Singletary. Wendy, Miss Singletary. From South Bosque Elementary School, Annalise Sandiger. Miss Annalise. Yeah, from Spiegelville Elementary School, Miss Susan Whitley. Miss Whitley. From Spring Valley Elementary School, Miss Kaylin Conrad. Is she here? Unable? Okay, as a sick little one, so sorry. And from Woodway Elementary School, as well as the district's elementary teacher of the year, Miss Christina Reinhardt. Christina Reinhardt. And so next I'm going to introduce our secondary teachers, but so they don't get lost, I noticed that a lot of the families came. Would the families of all these outstanding teachers stand up? Because I know it takes a group effort at home as well. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank y'all for being here. All right, now for our secondary campuses. From last year's campus, Woodgate Intermediate School, our 5th and 6th grade center, that's Miss Melora Roach. She's now teaching at Midway Middle School. Miss Roach. Also from Midway Middle School last year, now teaching at the high school, but Miss Whitney Humphrey. Is Whitney here tonight? I didn't see her. Okay. From Midway Middle School, also Amber Wilhite. Is Amber here tonight? There you are, Amber. From Midway High School, one of the teachers of the year is Molly Sanders. There's Molly. And our district secondary teacher of the year, also from Midway High School, is Miss Julie Cantwell. Miss Cantwell. And the same with those, your families are here tonight. Would they please stand? Let's recognize kids and spouses and parents, grandparents, whoever's here. Congratulations. All right, I'm going to come over there. Wait a minute. Next, I have the distinct pleasure of recognizing a Texas PTA Honorary Life Membership Award winner tonight. So we'd like to recognize Miss Nancy Walker. Is Miss Walker here tonight? Please, yeah, there you are. Please come forward. Nancy here is being honored for over 3 decades, 3 decades of volunteer service to Spiegelville Elementary School and the Midway ISD community, and with this Lifetime Achievement Award presented by the Texas PTA. It is one of the highest honors available through Texas PTA. It's given in honor and recognition of Ms. Walker's outstanding service and contributions to the well-being of our community. She began volunteering when her son started school at Spiegelville, and 35 years later, she's still volunteering as she has 2 granddaughters that attend Midway schools. That's very, very important, but this next one is real important. She also serves as a long-term substitute teacher for us, and through the COVID years, you've been very vital. Thank you. Yes. So, very, very honored for the Texas PTA to award you this, Ms. Walker. And I know Ms. Bronstead shares in her appreciation and all of the Spiegelville community and the Midway community for your efforts and volunteerism to our community. So thank you very much. Ms. Nancy Walker. then finally, have one more teacher staff member to recognize, and this award is called the Purposeful Lives Award. And it is for our Hewitt Elementary School evaluation specialist, diagnostician, Miss Nancy Garcia. Where is it? There she is, right in front. Please come forward, Miss Garcia. And let me explain this particular award, because it's presented by her alma mater, which is Schreiner University, and it recognizes Schreiner University's recent alumni who have substantially impacted their communities through meaningful service and purposeful engagement. Ms. Nancy here has been an educational diagnostician for 13 years. She's been in education 17. She's been a leader, an innovator. She builds bridges for our students, parents, educators in support of special education and our special education students and families and their individualized learning. She was chosen from countless alumni across Schreiner University for this honor, and she's certainly deserving of the recognition. So please join me in thanking and honoring Ms. Nancy Garcia. Thank you, Mr. Alford. That concludes our recognition, sir.
George, and just to note, known Nancy a long time. She was my neighbor, along with her sister and her mother, back when I was still growing up. She's younger than I am. But congratulations to her, Miss Walker, and all of the Teachers of the Year. They're part of the folks that make Midway what it is, and we appreciate it. So, if you've got something you'd rather do than stay for the rest of our exciting board meeting, now's your chance to exit. Okay, so we've got a number of information items. Does any board member have any questions about any information items?
Question, do you have a statement?
In that same vein, I would also note that I'm delighted to see that we've got student organizations and new ones coming along, because it's great to have those kind of opportunities for students to plug into and feel like they belong in the group. So I commend the folks that are willing to sponsor those.
We're very excited about these in particular. All great clubs, but bringing back the Texas Association of Teacher Educators. We have more and more students involved in our career tech program for future teachers, and having that sponsorship and having the club is also vital to keeping the students engaged. And we want to grow our own teachers to come back to Midway. And Skills USA, that's also in the CTE field, but another opportunity for students. You might remember like the BPA contests, the HOSA contests, different things like that, but this is just another avenue for students to show their CTE skills in the different areas. Best Buddies, working with special education students in robotics. Robotics is great. We've had it at Midway Middle, and now with 2 middle schools, being able to have it at both campuses is vital. So thank you for those comments. We do appreciate it, because we do want our kids involved.
We're always excited when we see things like this come up.
Yes. Thank you.
I was going to say on the investment report, I'm actually glad to see we're earning some money. Department accounts aren't doing the same. It's great.
Yeah,
It's Wesley's magic.
Well, yeah, the rates are finally
Starting to creep up a little, yeah.
Some more options now than there used to be.
Great.
Wearing your lucky shirt to work.
we won't talk about the downside to that, right?
There is a downside.
Yeah, yeah. So, we'll move on then to the presentation discussion items, the first of which is from Aaron on our district improvement plan, as well as talking about House Bill 3 updates and where we stand on those matters. Aaron?
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Russick, Dr. Kazanis, members of the board. It is district improvement plan time. And so we're going to try to accomplish three things with this presentation. First of all, I want to go over some of the changes that we've been making to the district improvement plan over the last few years. And then also the general process that we go through to write the district improvement plan to get it to this point. And finally, at the end, we're going to take a look back at our 2021 goals. Nope, 21-22 goals. I apologize. And in that, we'll take a look at how we're doing with our House Bill 3 goals that are embedded into the plan. And then we'll take a look forward to this year's goals and take a look at the adjustments that have been made, particularly to Goal 1. So we'll go ahead and get started. So some of the changes that we've been going through over the last several years have been to take a very large and exhaustive plan and make it just a bit more focused and a bit more strategic. We want to be able to have objectives that are less vague and that we can stand before you, stand before the community and say whether or not we're reaching those objectives. And to do that, we need to make sure that they're smart. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So for example, one of the changes that we can see, it's very clear, was in 2018, our plan had 16 performance objectives only under Goal 1 with 76 different strategies. When you added up goals 2, 3, and 4 and all the strategies, we had nearly 200 strategies back then, making it really a bit unrealistic. And so we've been trying to make it more focused. So for example, this year's Goal 1 has 5 performance objectives, which we'll take a look at in just a minute here, and 19 strategies. Another thing that we've done is we're making our, like I mentioned, objectives smart. And all that means is that we're going from something that's really hard to get a handle of and really understand where we are reaching that. So for example, from 16 to 21, we had this, I think, a worthy goal to hire personnel that closely matches the diversity of our district's population. The problem was we couldn't really tell how we were doing towards that goal. And so we've altered some of the wording. So for example, we're going to be able to say yes or no if our Hispanic teacher percentage is moving towards those numbers. Now that would need to be 22%, but we've got to start somewhere. So hopefully we're going to get to 9.5. With our African American teacher percentage, we should be closer to 11%, but right now we're making those incremental increases. So we're at 5.2 in a year. We've moved from 3 something to 5.2. So we're heading in the right direction. We hope when we're having this talk next year that we're saying yes to that 7%. So those are just some examples. Now the process that we go through for writing our district improvement plan is, first we start off by writing a draft. And the way we do that is we kind of take a divide and conquer approach. So the Office of Curriculum Instruction generally focuses on Goal 1. And of course there's some overlap, but our Human Resource Department, Goal 2, Student Support Services, Goal 3. And so we have different people who contribute to the writing of the draft listed there. Assistant superintendents, directors, coordinators, some of the campus leaderships, just principals also contribute. The things that we take a look at and the considerations are, of course, campus and district student achievement, district demographics, different qualitative data such as different thought exchanges or surveys that we might have. We take a look at human resources information, CCMR information, and then of course state and federal requirements that also belong in the plan, such as House Bill 3. Once we've written our draft, then it goes to the MAST committee. And the MAST committee has a couple of main jobs when dealing with our plan. The first one is they help us to, if necessary, rewrite our objectives. If they're kind of vague, we put some metrics to them. Sometimes they have us just revamp the objectives entirely if need be. And then the other thing that they help us with is our strategy alignment. So they help us to determine whether our strategies are actually going to get us to hit our targets by the end of the time that we've designated. So just as a reminder, we have 4 overarching goals. And for today's presentation, I want to focus mostly with number 1, meeting the academic needs of our diverse population. So we'll go ahead and jump into those performance objectives. As mentioned, 2021, 2022 had 5. And so I want to start with number 1. Now I'm going to skip around a bit, so hang with me. So starting at number 1, we said last year that we would attain an A rating in Domain 3. You might remember that I was kind of disappointed to report that before we had a B, it was actually an 89. And so we can say that yes, we did reach that goal. We have an A rating as of last year's accountability report for last year. Now, we were feeling ambitious last year and decided to go with a part 2 to this performance objective. And we said that not only would we get that A rating in Domain 3, but every campus here in Midway would also achieve the number set by the federal government for economically disadvantaged students. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds with that, but that was an ambitious goal. I was a little worried about it when the Mass Committee said, yes, let's go for it. And I will say that we came close, but we missed it by a couple of schools. And so, again, just as a reminder, we set that goal ourselves. Now we're going to skip down to goal 5, or objective 5. Midway ISD will improve Domain 2 Part A to an A by the end of last year. So again, as a reminder, we had a B in this category. So we set up our goals to target the areas where we had Bs as a district. And I can tell you again, yes, we have our A in Part A. I wish I had a lot of time to really dig into that one because it sounds easy when you just kind of read it. Very few districts have an A in Domain 2 Part A, the school progress measure. But we won't get too far into the weeds on that as well. We're just doing well in that area. Now let's go to 2, 3, and 4. I'm clustering these together because there are House Bill 3 goals. 2 is our early childhood literacy goal. Then 3 is a math. 4 is our CCMR, college career military readiness. We didn't reach any of them. So that would be a no, no, and a no. But before you get alarmed, that deserves some explanation. So let's go to this graph here. So if you remember, in 2019, House Bill 3 was passed, and the state required every district to set goals that we would reach 70% in early literacy, which meant all 3rd graders by 2024 who take the STAR test, we would need to have 70% of them not just pass, because if you remember, passing is approaches or above, but actually get to those higher levels of meets or masters. It's a pretty tough goal. We felt okay about it at the time because we were at that point at 66%, so already close to the 70%. So we mapped out our goals, incrementally increasing over the next 5 years to reach 70% or above by 2024. Something happened the following year, and we remember, I don't even want to say the word, but I will. COVID happened, and it really did rock our world, especially for our early childhood grade levels. And so we don't have any data for 2020. In 2021, we took a big hit. We took a dip, 52%. Personally, I don't think that is as big of a hit. A lot of other districts were in much needier, percentages. We are tracking well. We're increasing. We were at 59%. We did not change. So if you see that dotted star line, we did not change our goals because the state, even though we've gone through a global pandemic, has not changed the goals. So we're keeping them where they are. We're moving in the right direction, and hopefully that line will intersect with the other line above very soon. That's the goal. Looking at math, similar situation. Math is a little different. The state has determined that every district needs to have meets or masters by 2024 at 75%. So it's even a little tougher. Again, we're headed in the right direction. We're not quite there. As a reminder, these kids had their first grade and second grade year during the pandemic. So a lot of them missed a lot of schooling, so we're playing catch up, and we're doing pretty good. But unfortunately, we still have to say no to Objective 3. And then finally, Objective 4 is our CCMR. Now, this one's a little tricky. It lags a year behind. We're doing very, very well. The goal for 2024 is 90%. At 2019, we were already at the goal, the state goal. At 2020, we had surpassed it already by 91%. Last year, unfortunately, there was a PEIMS coding error, and several of our kids then technically couldn't count as CCMR eligible to give us those points. Did not impact the kids at all, didn't impact anything with the individual student. It only impacted our percentage negatively and brought us down, I believe, from 91, Ashley, you could probably quote me better, but about, above the goal, unfortunately, to an 81. The error has been corrected. Next year, we feel confident that we're going to pop up back far above that dotted star line. And we've learned some lessons along the way. So, moving now, taking a look forward. We're keeping most of the goals the same. We're keeping House Bill, early childhood literacy, early childhood math, and CCMR numbers the same. They are going to be tough for us to reach, I will confess. We're moving in the right direction. We've got a lot of plans in place to still recoup from learning losses, but they are going to be tough. Number one, we've changed that to maintain our A rating. We can't go any higher, but we definitely don't want to go lower. And then we put that, about 3/4 of our schools will make it to that second federal, we'll hit our federal number for economically disadvantaged as measured by Domain 3. Hopefully we'll get above that, but at least that many schools. We may need to tweak that number because I think we're at 11 schools, so the math may be a little tough. But we'll fix that. Domain 5, we're going to also maintain our Domain 2 Part B rating. Now, you may notice that we changed that from Part A to Part B. This year, there isn't going to be a school progress measure because the test is changing, so we're not going to have a comparison from last year to this year to measure our growth. The state's doing away with that for this year. So we've decided to take a look at Part B, which compares districts similar to Midway with each other and our overall achievement rating. So we feel good that we'll be able to maintain that A moving into this year and beyond. And thank you to this group of people. This is our MASC committee. They worked hard and they challenged us with what we had written, so we're really thankful to have them. And any questions?
I think it's commendable, COVID notwithstanding. I'm looking at these graphs. Early literacy went from 52 to 59%. That's a huge jump.
Thank you.
The blue line's going up faster than your yellow line. That's still a commendable achievement.
Thank you, yes, and it really is our kindergarten, first grade, our pre-K kinder, first, second, and third grade teachers really putting so much work into it. It's been tough, but we're getting our kids there.
Other questions from the board? Comments, discussion?
Just thankful for our great teaching staff here.
Absolutely.
Are we, do we feel like the staff obviously it's been tough for them coming back from COVID as well, and a lot of extra things getting thrown at them. Do we feel like they are weathering this well, or do they still feel pretty stressed about this? I don't want them to be overly stressed about hitting a certain % here or there, when there's sort of the bigger picture of how our kids and teachers are doing. So do we know?
Yes, sir. In visiting classrooms and visiting teachers, I hear the phrase is the tough year.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, and it is. We don't, in the day-to-day, we're not looking at targets and talking numbers. We're just looking at, what's going on with individual students, which is normal from year to year. So we're really trying not to put pressure. When the teachers just do their best, do their job, and we're not constantly bombarding them with these overall district goals, it takes care of itself. But it's a tough year. We do have our calendar planning coming up. We've got some ideas that we're getting from a thought exchange that we have out there. Teachers are giving us just the idea to incorporate some time to get together to plan during the school year. We don't have that in our calendar this year, so we've got some ideas to hopefully help moving forward.
What else can we do to help?
Oh boy, you guys do so much. Just your support, the fact that you are so together as a board. I mean, really, I think Midway couldn't ask for a better board. But
I would say because you understand it, we try to present this data to you often, and I think the board overall has an understanding of it, so that it's not, to Mr. Witt's question, trickle down as pressure. They're aspirational. They're aspirational because they're an improvement plan, but they're aspirational also because they're from the state too, and we don't control that. Our state has a lot of rules and laws and regulations, and put in quite a few even during COVID. That legislative session during COVID was one of the toughest for educators, and the effects are now with the teacher shortage that we're experiencing, and just part of it, and with resignations and retirements. And so is it tough? Yeah. Is it tough? I think you're going to see data reflected shortly. Dr. Odejima on the other side is educating students, but it's also behaviors and things that are in the classroom. And we're going to be transparent and show you that as well. But COVID has had a significant impact. And we know it has had impact on families, yes, but also on our staff and their abilities and the students. And we're working through it, and as I think what Pam said exactly right. The trajectory is good, but we appreciate just that understanding and knowing that this takes time. It's not going to happen overnight again, because these students that this looked at, I think Dr. Pena just said it, were COVID years for them. They took the test in 3rd grade, so yeah, they had first and second. Part of their kindergarten year, we were closed even. So that's when we closed in March of that year. That these were kindergartners, and now we're testing now. So they're going to get there, and staff confident. They're working. They know. Just give the kids some time.
And then we have House Bill 4545 that is demanding, and we at the district level are trying to offer as much flexibility as we can within the confines of the law.
This coming down from the state, it sounds like one of the things we can do is use our position, lobby, advocate, stand, keep our legislators, congressman, call your senator, let folks know in Austin.
Because yeah, you're right. Because what happens when those laws are passed, then they go to interpretation after they're passed. Leave it at that. And how they're implemented, interpreted, it's a lot different than I think sometimes lawmakers realize what they pass. But 4545. Dr. Pena said was very, very prescriptive and burdensome how it was interpreted of what our staff had to do, and families too, to get, for the tutoring and the remediation, things like that. So, and expensive, and it's funded only through federal dollars, ESSER only. So let's see what happens when those dollars dry up, if they will be supported or not, continued support, because that was simply funded through the stimulus and the ESSER dollars. So we didn't have flexibility with most of those ESSER dollars. They were prescribed too. So, sorry. But yeah, questions are asked. But again, we have to work through all this, Dr. Pena, his staff, but teachers too, and with the kids. And as said, they've done a fantastic job. But pressure's there, Mr. Witt, is not going to go away. Sorry, I'm just, unfortunately.
Fair, yeah.
And I think we lose perspective too, because we're just looking inside of our own house.
Yeah.
But relative to a lot of the other districts in our community, in the state, and especially around the country, we're doing great. I mean,
yeah.
if you look at some of the
Yes.
other data.
Yes, sir.
So I am very thankful for what you guys have done, and thankful that although the state certainly had some of its own challenges, and sounds like, gave us some more hurdles, they also kept us open in ways that other states didn't, so thankful for that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our 21-22 discipline report.
Dr. Odajima.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 21-22 discipline report. Each year, we bring this information to the board and detail discipline occurrences in our schools. The data presented tonight is reported to the state through the 425 discipline report. This data indicates student classroom removals based on student code of conduct violations. And collecting that data is mandated by Texas Education Code. So it's important that we collect that and then also present it to you so you see what's being reported. Tonight we'll review the 21-22 data. We'll also look at that data side by side with the past 5 years to give you some perspective and talk about what we've been through with the COVID and remote learning opportunities there. We'll also notice some trends and then our response as a district to that information. So to begin, this is not on. No, it's on. There we go. So to begin, our district totals, you'll see that we've had a trend upward in our overall code of conduct violations. So we had 1533 was a total district, and then it's broken down there for you by campus. So you can see that that's been an increase over the last years. What we want to keep in mind is that in 1920 school year, we went home at spring break and didn't come back. So those numbers dropped significantly because of that. In the 2021 school year, a good portion of our students were remote learning as well. So we had like 2,800 at a time. 2,800 at a time were in remote learning. So we had a significant amount of our population that was not present in the schools. So these trends are things that we expected. Your numbers differ a little bit by that first number. The 1533 was a typo, but the other numbers below that will total that 1533.
We'll have to get this one to it because it's off a little bit than what
Is
was
it?
published in their packet.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right.
That we missed one column somehow.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. So you'll have to turn to see the data then. So this is a list of
This one's
incidents.
correct. That was just that
Oh,
one.
okay.
Who's that one?
Excellent. So this is a list of infractions or incidents that occurred on campuses. You'll see that a couple of these have trended upward quite a bit. The marijuana controlled substance was significantly higher than the previous years, as well as fighting mutual combat. I will say, remember that fighting mutual combat takes two people, so a fight can't occur with just one person. So the actual events that happened are half that number, or possibly less. But we definitely see an uptick in many of these numbers for our incidents on campus. These are a little more serious type incidents that occur either on or off campus, and many of these are, because of the serious nature of them, they're mandatory discipline placements, so we don't see as many of these usually, but we did have a bump in the off-campus felonies. And again, that's for incidents that occurred outside of school, but because of state law, we're required to respond to those with a mandatory placement. These are actions. So the actions also tick up slightly, but we want to see that if our incidents are up. So we are reacting to the things that we see in our school. The expulsion number is better than it has been in some years past. The out-of-school suspension is up a bit, as well as in-school suspension. You see there that our DAP placement number is not necessarily greater than it was several years ago prior to COVID. So those are trends that we expected and have prepared for. Just to put it in perspective, violent and criminal offenses, these are the last, 16 through the 2022 end of that school year. And you see that felony, assault, terroristic threat, firearms, they're roughly the same or lower than they have been at different times. The thing that is a concern for us that we notice is the drug-related events. So to put that in perspective, what we're looking at here you have the district enrollment. So you can see that as our district grows, so do these numbers for code of conduct violations. And then the marijuana uptick, we believe, is not just something that's locally occurring in our school district. We feel like it's a national trend and that we'll continue to see that. The studies that are coming out now, there was a study published by the National Institute for Health that showed that 2021 was the highest usage of marijuana and hallucinogens in youth since the records have been kept. And so that's a trend that we're going to have to watch out for and continue to be vigilant in our resources and our conversations with students. The availability of
Is
it.
a lot of that vape pens? Is that what we're seeing?
It can be.
Yeah.
It's both. It's a mix. But I mean, certainly the availability of vape pens or dab pens is a problem.
You would say, Becky, this is not due to us doing anything different in terms of increased enforcement or focus on it. It's increased presence and use by
Right.
students.
Yes. So the fighting and mutual combat, again, that's something that's a higher number than we've seen. We think that relates to the fact that when we came back and everybody was back on campus and we were back in routines, it was difficult to get to a place where everybody was comfortable. I know that you heard conversations last year about the trouble with behavior in classrooms and the need to help kids get into those routines and just back to the regular practice of school. And I think we saw some of that through student behavior in this case, trying to get back in those routines. And so it's reflected here for sure. To put it in perspective, though, those numbers look ridiculous and out of control, but when you look at the total student population in a visual, the red bar here compared to our total population is violations of the code of conduct. That could be anything from like cheating to excessive tardies or truancy. It's not necessarily egregious acts, but it's just not following the rules that we've set in place. And so you see that it's still a small percentage of our population based on these numbers. So when we look at it percent-wise, 18% of our population has some type of code of conduct violation. 1%, although it looked huge, it's closer to 1.4%, have marijuana violations, and then 2% have some type of fighting or mutual combat incident.
So make sure I understand, these are the actual individuals, the count of individuals.
Right, so these are actually the events. So that's a great question. When you look at individuals, you see this, and this was not in your packet, but it's numbers that we've crunched today. When you look at the actual student that had those, because very oftentimes a student is going to have more than one violation in that area. When you look at it, we're talking about the unique students that had a code of conduct violation was only 681 kids in our district. That's only 8% of our population. Only 46% of those children, which is 0.5% of our population, had a marijuana incident, and then 90 of those kids had some type of fighting mutual combat. And again, 90, that's 2 people that it takes to have a fight, so that's 45 occurrences, which is 1% of the population that might have been affected by that. It's still not great, but it's an approachable number. It's something that we can work with, and we can access those kids, and we can target those populations and those students that need help and resources. And so that's been our response so far. So as far as programming that we've implemented in the past, and then also recently, we've had some great additions. One of the things that we've done now this year, middle school has an advisory time, and we've got a substance abuse education piece in that advisory time to talk to our 6th through 8th grade students about the dangers of marijuana and vaping and other things that they might be involved in and need to know about. We're also trying to educate parents through our VIP nights. And the one coming, we had sessions last year, but the one coming up in November specifically addresses drug use and trends, things that parents need to look out for. So we're trying to work with parents on that information. We have substance abuse treatment counseling for students who fail the extracurricular drug test. So if you're in any kind of extracurricular, or if you're a driver on the campus, you could have a random drug test, and if you fail that test, you have 3 hours of that counseling that you undergo for substance abuse. Synacor is partnering with us to offer substance abuse treatment for students at DAP who had a drug violation to put them there. So we now have like intensive counseling for those students to try to get them some help. We're partnering with local universities to use social work interns and LPC interns to assist our students with those social emotional needs and counseling opportunities, and then connection to resources. We're also continuing to use the Stop It app, which you've heard about many times, and our human monitoring system, and our online bullying reporting, and our bullying hotline messages, so that when students know something or they feel like they need to tell us something, they have an opportunity to do that. We're also partnering with many mentoring and counseling entities so that we can offer additional support to students and families. Those include our local churches, communities and schools, Claris, T-Chat is an online counseling service, Starry Counseling, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, Voices Against Substance Abuse, Unbound, and the Methodist Home. So we have many, many partners and resources for our students that have those kinds of needs. And then we're also talking about our character education TEKs. They're explicitly taught through also that middle school advisory curriculum. The elementary counselors send out lessons based on those character education TEKs. And then our high school operates with that as well. So we're trying to address the trends that we've seen, but there's certainly been an uptick in those. And we expected to see that because with an uptick in enrollment and more students back at school, it comes with the good and the bad. We had improved assessment scores, but we also have some increase in our discipline. So we're working to address those things. Do you have questions?
I do on the breakdown for the drug violations.
Okay.
Different types. Are we seeing most at the high school? How far down is it going? Is it split between the high school and the middle school? Or are we having
I have
problems in
that.
elementary
The
school
majority of
level?
it is high school, but there are some middle school students as well. In those numbers, for marijuana-controlled substance, 112 of those were high school and 13 were middle school. In alcohol, there were only 13 violations, and those were all high school.
We're not seeing it in elementary school.
No, not yet.
How do we feel like things are trending this year so far?
We have 25 students in DAP at the time, and probably 5 of those are drug violations. So, I mean, I think it's not like it's gone backwards. It hasn't. There's not a downward trend as far as access goes or availability of that. So our opportunity to educate, we're going to have to ramp up a lot.
Are the kids that do get caught with these things, are they helping us tell us where they're getting it? Are they buying it from someone on campus, or are they bringing it with them to campus? Are we getting any help in
I think
that
we have
area?
all of the above, but it's certainly something that the campus administrators talk about and get as much information as they can. Yeah,
So
it's hard.
on the slide you had that showed unique students versus incidents,
Mhm.
it seems like for the marijuana-controlled substance, it's like the average student has like 3 incidents almost per student. So what's kind of the progressive nature of how we deal with that student that is working or not working, or what do we do, right? Because, I mean, 3 is a lot, I would think.
Yeah. So, and it may not be that they have 3 different incidents. It may be that they have multiple disciplinary actions tied to an incident. So if I suspended you for 3 days, out of school suspension, and then you were assigned DAP, you might show up twice.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
it could be that, but you're right. It's not 125 unique people. It's closer to 46. And, you know, those,
What is kind of the, someone recurs, they do this again, like what does that look like? How's that ramp up, the consequences?
if you return to the discipline placement setting, then you're going to go for a longer amount of time. While you're in that setting, you're getting constant counseling and mentoring, and you have resources and social work connected to you to try to prevent that from happening again.
Is T-Chat kind of like a better help? Can you tell me a little
I'll
bit
let
more
Anne
about
Marie
that?
answer that question. She knows it best.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So would that be the process where we might identify a kid who's using marijuana because they have undiagnosed, untreated ADD, and they're trying to calm their brain and? Yeah, that's great. Good to know.
Anne Marie will know best, but I don't know that we've ever had this many resources at our fingertips.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome. Campus help.
Anything else?
Questions?
On this chart, I know you said you were just recently crunching the numbers. Do you know how this unique student occurrences compare to prior years, or have y'all had a chance to?
I haven't seen that. I looked at last year's data and did that today, so we could go back and look.
I just was curious to see. It's kind of I know the population's increasing and incidents. I'm just curious if it's a lot of repeat offenders or if it's just more and more and more.
Based on my personal experience in an assistant principal's office, yes. It's repeat occurrences from a student.
Becky, on the responses, one of the things that's listed there, and you mentioned, is the Stop It app. Are we seeing any use of that by folks out there, probably most likely students, to report on any of these drug-related offenses?
Yes,
how are
we
we-
get Stop It at reports pretty much every 10 minutes from all campuses, and sometimes it's he cut in front of me in line at the elementary cafeteria.
Right.
And then sometimes it is an excellent lead, and we make sure that like our campus admin and counselors have access to those as well. And then Anne Marie and I also get it all day long from all campuses. And we touch base with someone immediately when we see something that needs to be investigated. So yes, students are using it.
Well, but with the drug-related stuff, is it being used there at all? In other words, are there students that are aware that there's somebody that's selling, that's using, and are we getting any reports through the app on that?
I don't know that we've gotten that many this year. It's been more self-harm as of late, but we've gotten some.
Good.
Yeah.
Other questions from the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Keep fighting the fight.
Monthly finance report, Wesley.
Want to see your numbers going up, right?
That's right, yeah. Good evening, members of the board. We'll take a look at our first month of our new fiscal year for 2023. You'll see the first page of the financial report has our statement of general fund revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. We compare the current month for 2022 versus last year there on the right. You can see the budget for the current year has a deficit of $3.9 million. The original adopted deficit was 3.5. The 3.9 million includes the carryover purchase orders that we approved last month because of the items that were ordered in last fiscal year but didn't arrive until this fiscal year. And you can see the budget column. The second column is the actual current month expenditures, which for the first month will equal, of course, our actual year-to-date expenditures in that next column. And the last column is the percentage of budgeted funds spent. After the first month, we're at 10.9%. which is last year at this time we were at 9.2. I know part of that increase is our internal service fund entry to move $900,000 from the general fund to the internal service fund for our one-to-one initiative. Last year, if you'll remember, we only budgeted $100,000 for that because we had ESSER money to put in that instead. So that's why there's a little bit higher percentage for this month compared to this time of last year. The next slide, let's see here, is our statement of general fund revenues. You can see a breakdown of our local, state, and federal revenues. Local revenue, of course, our property taxes make up the bulk of that. And our federal revenue, you can see our SHARs and indirect cost reimbursements, and we'll continue to track those throughout the year as they come in. Our third slide is our cash balances. And as historically, September, October, November, cash balances are always lower until we start receiving our property taxes later in the year and at the first of the new calendar year. Our total cash balances as of September 30th is $28 million. The next slide shows our attendance numbers. So we don't have actual snapshot numbers available yet, but just estimates based on the data we currently have. Gives you a good idea of kind of where we stand with our current enrollment by campus, grade level, and demographics. And the chart on the right shows our budgeted ADA and weighted ADA and some of those special student populations. We don't have a projection yet because at this point we didn't have our first 6 weeks data yet to start putting in projections, but we'll have that as the year progresses. The next slide is our tax revenues. Of course, not much to show. At this point, only $14,000 in our first month. And the next slide is our transactions over $25,000. There's a lot this month, probably the most we've ever had. Just the first month of the school year, there's a lot of subscriptions and annual payments we make, which is a lot of that in the other operating items. And of course, we have our bond projects, paying a lot of our contractors and getting those finished out. If you have any questions on any of those, please let me know. And finally, the bond budget is on the last page of the financial report. You can see our total budget there, $148 million. That bottom line there in gray. We've spent $121 million to date, and that's actual checks cut. Projecting to spend another $23 million. Projected total cost of $144 with a favorable variance of $3.1 million. And then if you add the interest income below that, that gives us a total projected variance of $5.3 million. And if you'll notice too, in the projected cost to complete column, the largest number there is of course the middle school with $14.1 million, still to go for the middle school project. Any questions?
On the attendance numbers, enrollment numbers, I noticed, I know none of that's actually, we don't have official first 6 weeks data in there yet, but I know the numbers snapshot data we're looking at, I mean, we're up almost 300 over last year. And so looking at our budgeted number is up only 85 over the year before. So we feel like we're going to get a couple hundred more kids over that budget number, I would think, right?
Yes, sir. So we did, since this report was put together, we did receive our first 6 weeks data. And I think our ADA was like 8,200 something. And the first 6 weeks is higher usually than,
sure, right.
The average for the year will be lower than that. In our WADA, I noticed too, especially in our SPED categories, resource, self-contained was a lot higher than what we had budgeted here. And so, yeah, I think, we'll probably end up with more state revenue, maybe close to, at this point it's hard to tell, maybe close to $1 million.
$1 million or so, okay. Well, that's good news at least. So your numbers are going up.
It's trending the right way.
Okay.
So Wesley, on the building projects, several are done, the kids are in the buildings. Why do we still have so many that have projected cost to complete?
Let's see, good question. So we still have not closed, received all the payment applications from the CTE project, River Valley, or Park Hill. I talked to our construction auditor, Townsend Associates, and they plan to have a draft audit of their report for River Valley and CTE by next week. So that means they'd pretty much have a good idea of the last payment application, what that looks like. And we still have, like for instance, River Valley for FF&E, 1.1 million. There's still a lot of those items, kind of like we talked about, the carryover purchase orders in the general fund, some items that have been ordered, but we just haven't received them.
Oh, they still
So
haven't
once
come
we
in,
receive them, they'll move over to the cost, the actual cost today. I know there's some athletic and fine arts items at River Valley and the middle school.
Not gonna pay it till we're finally.
No, I agree.
Till
I
we're
just
finally
didn't know all
finished.
that stuff. I mean, by now I thought all that would
But
have.
the work's been done, the stuff has been ordered, it's
Yeah.
just the
There's
payouts.
some loose ends that we want
Okay.
completed.
So following up on that, November, or do we need to look more towards the December meeting for resuming the discussion here at the board level about if we're in that $5 million range, what are we looking to identify as potential areas where it would be spent? So probably December meeting?
Yeah, possibly November, but definitely by December, possibly. If Townsend is doing those two big projects, we might get closer
Right.
to have those projections.
And then we do have a budget amendment, 2311, to provide funds for the superintendent search firm services.
Right. Other
Yeah.
question? Jonathan?
I think it's fantastic that we're under budget, because at the school board convention, I'd heard from several other districts that had bond projects through COVID, or, that kind of mirror our timeline. And every single one of them talked about how they were over budget and everything kind of went sideways. So, I mean, that's fantastic, Buddy, everybody.
We were,
I mean, it's
fortunate, for
incredible.
sure.
So everybody should be commended for that.
I want to say one thing in that regard. There was a day and a time months ago that Mr. Tullis was particularly adamant about pushing to move the schedule up on everything. How great it was that that push came, because otherwise we'd gotten caught up in some of that stuff by pushing it ahead, and
CTE, we wouldn't have gotten it.
yeah. So every
Been
now and
half
then
of it.
you,
Half of it.
yeah, I don't know if his crystal ball was that good or not, but he deserves some credit for that.
I'll tell you, this next spring, the pricing will get better again, so, things are trending. We've hit the highs, so.
That's good to
So
hear.
hopefully
though.
when we have our variances that we're trying to redeploy, we'll get some favorable pricing again, so.
Good to hear.
That's great leadership from the school board president to hit those waves.
No,
just to-
I give you credit,
Yeah,
man.
you
You were
guys,
pushing,
I'll
let's
tell you
move
what.
this stuff up. And to the credit, the board got on board with that, the administration did, and everybody worked hard to make it happen. So, that was good. Anybody else on the finance report? All right, we've got to say something about the first report, right, Wesley?
Yes, sir. So this is the 20th year of the school's first report, the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas, financial accountability system for Texas school districts. Primary goal of FIRST is to achieve quality performance in the management of school districts' financial resources. The rating is based on staff, student, and budgeted data submitted through our PEAM system and the annual financial audit report. We're required to hold a public hearing to discuss the rating system. You'll see in your packet, we have our score for 2022, which is based on the 2020-2021 school year. We did receive a superior rating, total of 98 out of 100 possible points. And listed next to that is last year's report, which we also received a 98. You will notice there are a few categories, or I guess metrics, where there's NA because of COVID. There were a few of those that were.
Wesley, we don't have that
It
in our
wasn't
packet.
attached in the
It wasn't in the
packet.
packet.
It wasn't in their packet.
Oh, it's not in the packet.
Do you have it to show us? Or?
Sorry, I
You can get it.
apologize.
That's all right.
Send it to you.
I like to listen to you talk. I just
Yeah.
couldn't find anything to.
That-
This time I did look for the page number on the little sheet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there wasn't one. I'd much rather hear you talk.
So, yeah, it's there behind you, and sorry, it's kind of small, a lot of data there, but yeah, like I said, but we received a 90 out of 100, same as we received the prior year, which is a superior rating. There were a few metrics that were excluded because of COVID. That's why you see a few of those marked as NA, not applicable. And then down below too, I have the previous 5 years that you can see the scores on there. They were also all superior. So pleased with the results. Any questions?
Well done. Excellent.
The metric that we keep about our fund balance ratio to budget, is that going to play into this next year, we think? Or because I know we're right at that line now. Or is that not part of this consideration?
No, sir, that's not.
Okay.
That's just
Self-imposed.
It's our internal, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? If not, we need to have a public hearing on this. So, no other questions from the board. We'll open the public hearing on the Financial Integrity Rating System report and welcome any members of the public that wish to address the board on this item to come forward and do so. Not everybody at once. All right. Not hearing from any members of the public, we will close the public hearing and move to the consent agenda. Now, we've got minutes from a number of our meetings, some early graduation requests, the district improvement plan, as well as the campus improvement plans, an out-of-state trip, E-rate technology, and then the budget amendment that Wesley referenced. Does any board member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda? If not, we have
I'd like to remove item 4.
item 4.
I'd like to remove item 6, please, just as a whole. Not
Item
any
6
particular
as a
letter.
whole. Okay. So, anybody else? 4 and 6? All right, then do we have a motion to approve 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9 from the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Watts.
Second.
Second by Mr. Alford. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Let's go in numerical order. Number 4, Mr. Tullis.
Number 4, on the SHAC committee, am I right in thinking usually there's been a board member that represented on
I was just looking over that. We usually have a board member on there.
Susan.
Well, I did it forever, yeah.
Well, I
Pam
don't
was
know
on
if
it for a
Susan,
while.
if you don't want to do
for
it,
a
I'd be
long time.
happy to do it for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think Andy was it last year. Of course, he's not on the board now, and so I don't think they realized,
Lost
because
Andy.
2 of us were on there for a long time, and then I went off,
Gotcha.
and Andy stayed on,
So
so.
can I volunteer myself? I mean, how's that?
Sure, yeah.
I say, I
Interesting
see a
meetings.
thumbs up by Anne Marie.
I always enjoy the SHAC committee, so
Yeah.
it's a good
Okay.
thing. You can do it. It's
Awesome.
a good one.
It's a good one.
Okay.
So
That's all
I
have.
move we approve the members of the SHAC committee as presented with the addition of Mr. Tullis.
Second.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Witt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries unanimously. Calling number 6.
Thanks, and I had mentioned to Dr. Pena earlier today about this question, so maybe you can just address it from there for the board so we'll know. Last week I was at the GT Advisory Council, which was fantastic, by the way. Ms. Duncan did a great job, and one of the things we looked at in the law was about how GT programs are not only part of the district improvement plan, but also each campus's improvement plan, and so I had looked. Honestly, the only one of these I read all the way through is Castleman Creek's because that's where my kid is, but I didn't see it in there. And so talk about where that is or how that's being implemented or what the plan is for measuring GT specifically at the campus level.
Sure, and as you mentioned that to me earlier today, I've been looking and it is existing in some of our campus improvement plans. So Ms. Duncan is already drafting language for several versions of a strategy that will align with the district improvement plan. And so a lot of times during our formative reviews, we're tweaking our strategies throughout the entire year. There's a strategy that just isn't working or we need to try something different. So that it is a living document. So starting tomorrow, we're going to send out the draft strategies. And from what I've seen, most of the plans have a perfect place, similar to our Objective 3 goal. Most of them have a place where they can fit some GT strategies right in there. So we'll work on that tomorrow, and by Friday, we'll have.
Thank you so much.
It's a Good catch, Colin.
So, we have a motion to approve number 6 on the consent agenda.
So moved.
By Mr. Witt,
Second.
second by Mr. Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion also carries unanimously. No personnel to act on, right? Voluntary separation agreement with the superintendent. You expect us to approve that?
It's retirement.
Yeah.
But it's also retirement.
Can we debate that some more?
I didn't write the way it's down there on the agenda, George.
What are you reading then? Well,
What number?
that is,
That's under B on, it's, what is it, page 450, starts at 451. Yeah.
A wonderful read.
well, thank you.
It is. You want to talk about it any, or?
Not really. It's just, it is voluntary. I mean, I'm retiring, as you all know, and it is an agreement between myself as your superintendent in the district. It certainly was crafted. Mr. Russick reviewed it too, with Corey Hartsfield, who represents many superintendents across Texas. But it's really for just clear understanding. I just didn't want there to be any misunderstandings if I left, or I wanted it all in writing, the dates, the status of where I will be, in terms of my duties, particularly in the month of January, because of that. You're going to be close to hiring. I saw in your timeline, of course, the district's timeline will be naming that awarding of the contract some point beginning in January. So I am officially retiring from the teacher retirement system on January 31. So the other is just, again, saying that, of course, I'm going to come back if there's issues, dealing any legal issues, and the same thing I would expect if something comes up back during my tenure. It clearly states what the district will do, in my capacity as a superintendent. Hopefully there won't be any of those. I don't think I have any issues in the closet left from, hasn't been resolved. I'm talking about legal issues with anything that's pending. We have, I think all of those have been resolved at this particular time.
So, that said, I move that we approve the voluntary retirement agreement.
Don't leave me hanging.
If
Nobody
this
wants to
dies without a
second it.
second, does he have to stay?
It's an
That's what I want to know.
opportunity.
That's what I'm
We've
thinking.
we've already accepted his
We don't
resignation,
officially, but it's not,
so
it's not in writing.
I don't think this is gonna help us.
Oh, I don't
If we
Second.
don't approve, we can't
Right.
keep you.
Second by Mr.
Thank you,
Tullis. Any discussion?
With great reluctance, do we let you go?
I just think it's great that you thought to make sure you get to keep your phone number.
I know, I saw that.
Seriously, because I left Baylor and I had to sort of fight.
I don't want to
keep mine,
scramble.
So that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
I don't want to scramble, and
Well done.
I feel like the new person that you brought that up, the new person too, will more than likely bring their phone,
You would think.
That's kind of a long, again, I've been there so long, so when that happened, that wasn't really that big a deal, 12, 10, 11,
Yeah.
Years ago, but now that number is pretty critical.
Well, the first morning where there's ice on the roads, your phone's gonna ring.
I might not be awake yet. I'm gonna be enjoying it, sipping my coffee.
You'll have it on
I'm gonna sip my
silent.
coffee.
That's right.
And just say, good luck.
We're all gonna call you.
That is
Count
gonna
on
be a really good day, your first day of retirement, is
Oh,
when
I
it's
hope
bad
there's a- I
weather
hope
and
there
you
is
don't
a
have to
snow
deal
day.
with it. Yeah.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Also carries
Thank you very much.
unanimously. Superintendent's communications before we go into closed session?
Superintendent communication. Well. We wanted to, again, not anything that you already probably haven't heard about. As you can see, we're in the thick of things with the first 6 weeks completing with our students. We really are having a much more positive year regarding 5-letter word, COVID, not being necessarily the center of everything that we do, which is wonderful. And having the events, I think if you follow the campuses on social media, you see the different events that they're having, carnivals, things like that. It's wonderful to see the support again, and the parents back, and the staff putting those together. So that's
And I know some people going to have lunch,
Yeah,
with
lunches,
their kids for Thanksgiving.
things
They're
like
very
that.
pleased
Oh,
they can do
that's
that
great.
again.
It's homecoming week, at the high school, and that's great. That's coming up.
Probably tomorrow.
And festivities, and I think, again, I think Ms. Smith said lots of tickets have been sold to the dance, and kids wanting to participate again, and those kinds of things. I think the most recent Blue Card, again, as I said, most of these were done in September, but a couple more state of the district tours and facilities. We had some retirees of the district and/or just our Blue Card members, and were able to tour the Career Tech Center, and they, I think, were very, very well pleased and overwhelmed with what we're doing. Teachers and kids were great, talking about the classes that they were taking, and just that was just a goodwill measure. They even said they're telling their friends and all, they want to send others. Maybe we'll do one in January, we'll see, because they said others should have come to this, and so that's always a good feeling when they want more.
Where did you end up taking them? I know we were a little concerned about mobility.
Well, we've got elevators,
I know
so
we
we
did,
were
so we
able to,
did. Okay,
they
good.
could go everywhere.
Good.
And so it was accommodated to see everything we wanted them to see, and so appreciate that. So that was just the focus was the CTE this time with that.
Okay.
We had another
The
tour of
STEAM.
CTE.
We had a visit from the chamber, and the chamber, as you know, does a lot of recruiting, and this is, all I know from what I was told, don't know very many details, but a large manufacturer, so who knows, maybe interested in Waco, but they wanted to see the quality of public schools in the area, as well as, in particular, looking at our Career Tech Center. And they had some really nice representatives that came, and I think we're impressed. And we were certainly honored to be chosen to showcase our school, but also that they spent as long as they did, almost an hour looking and asking good questions, and looking at our programming and courses and internships, externships, all of the good things that maybe if they do become a member of the community of Waco, that they would partner with us in our kids' internships and things like that. So
Yeah, it was good. I had lunch with them afterwards, and they were
Oh.
very, very impressed. So, good job.
thank you, very, very excited. Thank you. So very excited. Those are things. So it's good to see where we are. I just saw, these are little tidbits, but we advanced further than we've had in a long time. You heard about tennis, 21 district championships, but they're going to regionals. They just won tonight. So they're advancing further, so congratulations to them. We had a inaugural season of water polo in the UIL, and our girls won 2 rounds also in playoffs, first and second round, girls team. So really
First time we've
neat
had
stuff
that team.
doing that. I know we hosted a successful regional band marching contest. Did well at that is too. So good things, good things. I know the score of varsity football is not great this year, but I know they've had some adversities, working hard. But the program overall is doing well.
They won
Meaning
Friday, right?
the JV teams, the freshman teams, the junior high teams, middle school teams are doing well, competing well. So program is rebuilding, and appreciate all of their efforts. But those are kids are working through a lot of injuries they've had to, and tough. But they hung in there Friday night, and big game. Still have a chance to make the playoffs. So
I saw that. I was a little surprised.
yeah, there's 7 teams in the district, so 4 teams go. So.
That's how it's happening.
That's the odds.
I was wondering how it was
That's the
happening.
odds. We like those odds. We need to pull a win
I
over
didn't know 4 went now.
Bryan
Okay.
and a win over a
I thought 2
Pflugerville
just
team
went.
Yeah.
that I can't keep up with. Weiss, I think
Weiss.
it's pronounced Weiss.
Weiss.
So that's our last game of the season. But Ms. Smith, this is our last home game, correct? Right.
Oh, is it really?
Just so you don't get alarmed, next week is the 28th. That's our last game. We drew the unlucky straw. The bye week, we're the last week. So there is a week between possible playoffs.
Get
So
a
we
break.
that has to fall to somebody.
Yeah.
That off week, and we drew the very last week of the season. So our season appears to be, it feels like it's over. It's that, feels. So,
Brad and I were saying that it was strange that we didn't get to hear from Buddy, since we've been through.
I
First
know.
time in a couple years or so.
You didn't
or
let Buddy
more
talk to
than-
us today?
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
cut Buddy off. And, no, just teasing.
We got him down for a cameo in November.
Yeah,
Well,
he hadn't gone anywhere. We had a good meeting today. We were finalizing our list of some of these last minute things that need to get done on the campuses. So Buddy and Ford, Taylor and Thomas, they've worked really, really hard. Appreciate them. October is, appreciate our principals. I know it's a state and national principal appreciation month. So thank our outstanding group of principals on our 11 campuses and our Horizons program. They do a fantastic job. So appreciate them. And I think it's HR Day some point in October. So HR department under Ashley.
When is
Knudsen.
that? Last week?
Monday last week. So
Okay.
always appreciate. So that's what's going on in the district.
All right. Then we still have real estate that we're going to go into closed session under section 551.072 of the Texas Government Code at, what, 8:20?
On the dot.
8:20. Different clocks just have different times, right?
All right.
8:20.
All right, we'll just walk back there if y'all don't mind.
No.
Angela is here. We need
Oh, wait,
Angela
okay,
today.
we thought maybe she didn't.
Nope, we need her.